What up, you fluffy bastards? My name is Liquid Blitz, and today we're looking at which ammo you should use in Escape from Tarkov. We're going to go through every caliber one by one and figure out the best ammo to use on a budget, the most balanced between cost and performance, like a strong middle, and then the absolute best. For your convenience, I've put timestamps in the description and pinned comment just so you can jump to whatever ammo you're actually interested in, so you don't have to watch the whole video. And as per my usual style, I've put all the stats and info on screen throughout the video, just in case you don't want to listen to me. You can just pause the video and get all the juice with none of the pulp. Oh, and ignore all the background footage. It's just there so you're not looking at a boring static screen. Okay then, let's start with 545x39 for the AKs. The best budget option is BP, which you can get from level 3 Prapor. Now this penetrates class 3 armor with ease, but it starts to struggle against level 4. Now the most balanced ammo between cost and performance, a strong middle, is BT. Now this you also get from level 3 Prapor after completing the task Punisher Part 4. Now, BT penetrates level 4 armor very effectively, but then it starts to struggle against level 5. Now, important to note here, often on the flea market, BT actually drops in price to match BP, so if this happens, just buy BT instead, it's better. Now, as for the best, it's actually joint between BS and 7N39. There's only one damage difference between the two, and the extra penetration that 7N39 has over BS is mostly irrelevant because both of them can effectively penetrate level 6 armor. Now, you can't buy either of these from vendors. You can craft 7N39 for roughly 1,000 rubles per round in the hideout, but you can only barter for BS ammo, 2 hot rod drinks for 30 rounds from Prapor. Moving on, we have 762x51. Now this caliber of ammo is actually unique in that the cheap budget option is actually really good in and of itself, which is why I've labelled it as both budget and the most balanced. And that is M80, which you can buy from level 2 Peacekeeper. It penetrates level 5 armor completely and only struggles just a little bit to penetrate level 6, which is pretty damn good for a budget choice. Now, there are two best choices here, depending on whether you're sniping or you're more sort of close-range, standard, run-and-gunning. M993 and M61. Both of these penetrate level 6 armor with ease, so penetration isn't a factor between the two. M993 is actually the better of the two for long range because it has a higher muzzle velocity, so less bullet drop, and it also has a bigger 5% accuracy buff, and less of a hit to the recoil. So M993 for sniping and long range. Actually, the only thing M61 has better over M993 is the slightly higher damage. It's slightly cheaper and it's actually way more available. You can buy M61 from level 4 Prapor after completing Wet Job Part 6, and you can craft it for roughly 1200 per round, whereas you can only loot M993 or buy it on the flea market. Anyway, next up we have 556x45, the ammo of the fabled M4. Now the best budget choice here is M855, which you can get from level 1 Peacekeeper. It penetrates class 3 armor easily, but then really struggles against level 4 and higher. Now there are actually two strong middle options, very similar, M855A1 and 56A1. You can get 55A1 from level 3 Peacekeeper or level 4 Skier, and you can get 56A1 from level 2 Peacekeeper after completing the task The Cult Part 1, and you can also craft it for roughly 400 per round. They pretty much cost the same, but 56 is generally worse because they're tracer rounds and they have more recoil. It also starts to struggle penetrating level 5 armor, whereas 55A1 starts to struggle only against level 6. Anyway, let's move on to the best of this caliber, and that is clearly M995, which you can get from level 4 Peacekeeper, or you can craft that in the hideout as well for roughly 1250 per round, so a bit more expensive. Now, M995 doesn't have an accuracy penalty like the others, and it has a much higher velocity of over 1000 meters per second, which makes it possibly one of the best for long range in the game. As for penetration, it can penetrate even level 6 armor effectively, so awesome. Next up, we've got 762x39 for the SKS and the AKM. Now, there are only two ammos here that you should even remotely concern yourself with, PS and BP. PS makes a decent budget option. It's not great, but it is dirt cheap from level 1 Prapor. With a penetration value of 32, it basically rips through level 3 armor comfortably, but it struggles with level 4 and it doesn't stand much of a chance at all against level 5 and 6 armors. Now the best, BP, is actually one of the cheapest best ammos in the game, which is why I've also labelled it as the most balanced. Personally, I only use BP because I'm swimming in those rubles. You can get BP from level 3 Prapor after completing the task Punisher Part 5, and you can also craft it in the hideout for roughly 500 per round. It does, however, have a slight penalty to accuracy and recoil, but it's pretty high damage, and with a penetration of 47, it rips through everything up to level 5, and even does reasonably well against level 6 armor. Anyway, moving on, we have 7.62 by 54R, the sniper caliber, used by the Mosin and the SVD. Now, we've got a bit of a unique story here. After delving into the stats, I've decided to split my choices between best for bolt action and best for semi-automatic, because you have different needs between the two. For bolt action, your ammo choice is largely dictated by how easily you can one-shot kill a target, especially with a thorax shot. Now, prior to patch 12.7, LPS and 7N1 could both one-shot kill a thorax in level 3 armor or less, without fragmentation. With fragmentation, they could even one-shot a level 4 armor. Now, as of patch 12.7, they upped the thorax health from 80 to 85, and that wiped LPS off the map. So LPS can no longer one-shot kill a thorax without fragmentation. I might discuss fragmentation in a standalone video, because it gets pretty confusing. Anyway, so since 7N1 is more expensive, LPS simply makes a decent budget option for bolt action, and 7N1 is the best by far. Now for semi-automatic, on the other hand, aka the SVD, I think that's the only one, the best choice is actually also really cheap, and that is SNB. And now you can either get that from level 4 Prapor, you can craft it for roughly 560 per round, or you can buy for usually even like cheaper on the flea market. I've seen it as low as 200 on the flea market, which for such a good ammo is pretty nice. Now, a lot of people might disagree and say, well, 7N1 is simply the best, even for semi-automatic, but when I think about it, semi-automatic penetration is more important than damage because you don't have to really worry as much, anywhere near as much, about killing in one shot. Now, SNB still has a modest 75 damage, so it's not exactly low damage, but the super high 62 penetration means it tears easily through even level 6 armor like it's tissue paper. So I will always counsel SNB as the best for semi-automatic. Moving on again, we've got 9x39 for the Val and the VSS. All of these ammos are slow, subsonic rounds, and uniquely, even the worst ammo of this class is still pretty good. My choice for budget option is SP6, and now it's slightly better than SP5, which can't handle level 5 armor. SP6 you can get from level 3 Prapor, or you can craft it for a nice cheap 400 per round. Now with a penetration of 43, it's only really going to have problems against level 6 armor, so again, for a budget ammo, that's really good. And once again, we've actually got a joint best choice here between SPP and BP. Very similar here, SPP has slightly more damage, BP has slightly more penetration. Slightly. SPP can still penetrate level 6 armor effectively, so there's basically no difference between the two. SPP you can get from level 4 Prapor, and BP you can actually craft for approximately 1200 per round in the hideout. Anyway, next up again we have 9x19. Now this is pretty cut and dried and indisputable. The best budget option is PST GZH from level 1 Mechanic, level 2 Prapor, level 2 Peacekeeper. So there's lots of buying options. They're all dirt cheap, but that's because it gets stumped by level 3 armor and beyond. Now the middle option for this caliber actually used to be the best, AP 6.3 from level 3 Peacekeeper, and you can craft it for about 500 or 600 per round in the hideout. Now this ammo just about handles level 4, but it's useless against 5 and 6 completely. Now the new and best ammo is 7N31 from level 4 Prapor. Handles level 5 armor pretty damn well, but it struggles a little bit with level 6. So 7N31 is the clear best, but it's locked behind level 4 Prapor, and it has a small buying limit of I think 90 rounds, and it sells out real fast as well, so you may have no choice but to fall back on AP 6.3. Next up we have 12 gauge shotgun ammo. Now my choices here might differ a lot from other people's. In my opinion, you should only use 2 types of 12 gauge ammo. My best choice for budget ammo is actually so good and cheap, It's easily the most balanced ammo between cost and performance, and in some ways, I would even say it could be considered the joint best, and that is flechette rounds. Very similar to buckshot in theory, each flechette round fires 8 individual darts, surprisingly accurately, by the way. Now, just to give you an idea, buckshot has no penetration, so it gets blocked by any armor until it destroys the armor. Flechette rounds, on the other hand, actually have a very high penetration, so it actually does damage right from the very first shot, and destroys the armor just as quickly as buckshot. I hope I explained that right. Let me rephrase that. Basically, flechette kills way faster than buckshot. It rips through every armor class, even level 6. I personally came to love flechette so much I actually personally choose it over AP20. Now, speaking of AP20, let's move on to that. Largely considered the best, AP20 is the highest penetration slug round in the game. Now, slug, for people who might not know, means basically it fires only one projectile, making it very accurate for a shotgun. It makes it much more like a rifle. Some people actually report shooting AP20 like 150 meters accurately. As for penetration, AP20 penetrates level 4 easily. Level 5 it starts to struggle, and level 6 it does struggle. So to summarize, if you prefer longer range, accurate shots, AP20 is the best. But if you prefer closer combat and you want something that will rip through any armor, flechette rounds. I hereby declare flechette rounds awesome. Next up, 9x18, and here is where the whole budget, balanced, best thing just kind of goes out the window, because the best is also really cheap. Let's just start by saying that all 9x18 rounds are useless against class 4 armor and higher. Only PMM and PBM can penetrate level 3. Everything else can't even handle level 2. Now, both PMM and PBM are cheap, they're both from level 3 Prapor. I'd say PMM is the better of the two, just a much higher damage, but the PP91 Kedr can't use PMM, so use PBM instead. Nice and simple. Anyway, moving on, we have the .366 ammo, everyone's favourite caliber. My budget choice here is the Eco rounds, or Echo rounds, from level 2 Jaeger. High enough penetration to handle class 3 armor, but sort of hits a wall with class 4. Echo rounds do, however, reduce the recoil by 15, which is pretty nice and probably an overlooked stat. Anyway, the best 366 ammo is the new AP round. It's actually cheap enough to make it the most balanced between cost and performance. 42 penetration means it handles pretty much any armor, only showing a slight drop in penetration chance against level 6. It also has a stupidly high damage of 90, which can one-shot a thorax in no armor, or possibly low-level armor. Anyway, yeah, that's all good and well, but AP actually has a horrible negative 28% accuracy and plus 35 to the recoil, and a slow-ass velocity of 602 meters per second. So outside of the high damage, it's just awful in every way, especially at long range. Talk about bullet drop. Next up we have 4.6 by 30mm. Now my budget choice here is FMJ from level 3 Peacekeeper. It penetrates class 4 with ease, does passably well against level 5, and it does struggle with level 6. The best ammo in this class is the AP SX round from level 4 Mechanic. 53 penetration means that it'll rip through class 6 armor even, but it does have an additional plus 10 to the recoil here. Now also, a special mention for this caliber is the Subsonic SX round. Subsonic means slower than the speed of sound, which makes it quieter and harder to pinpoint because you don't get that crack as the bullet whizzes past you. Subsonic SX also has a huge negative 22 to the recoil, which is actually awesome. It's also roughly the same price as FMJ, so if you aren't using APSX, you really have two budget choices, Subsonic or FMJ, depending on, which stats and playstyle you prefer. Next up we have 5.7 by 28 for the 5.7 pistol and the P90, so this is a close range only caliber. Now this is another of those calibers where there isn't much distinction between budget and best. I just straight up recommend two different rounds. SS190 and SB193 from level 3 and level 4 Peacekeeper. 190 has slightly more penetration and double the velocity. 193 has slightly more flesh damage and a nice negative 20 to the recoil. Now, since you're using this caliber exclusively at close range, velocity and recoil aren't that important. Both of these penetrate level 3 armor with ease, but 190 is slightly better against level 4 armor than 193. And they both struggle against level 5 and 6, but it is worth noting that SS190 is notably better. Anyway, next up we have 7.62x25 for the PPSH and the TT pistol, another close range only caliber. Now, for this one, there is one clear best, and it's also super cheap, so there's only one real option for this, and that's PST-GZH from level 3 Prapor. It's the one with the white top, and the reason this is the only option I'm giving is because it's the only one that penetrates level 2 armor, and even this struggles with level 3 armor. All the others are useless. Now, the thing is, you actually rarely see this ammo on the flea market, so you're going to have to wait until you've got level 3 Prapor. Until then, if you have to use something else, I kind of just generally recommend AKBS, because you can get it from level 1 Prapor, but it doesn't have anything over the rest. Moving on, we've got 12.7x55 for the Ash 12 assault rifle. Super high damage, super high recoil. There are nice, clear budget and best choices, both of which are from level 4 Prapor. The budget choice is PS12. It's super cheap to buy, and it'll penetrate level 3 armor nicely, but it's useless against level 4 and higher. The best ammo is PS12B. Now, this has a much higher penetration. It does pretty damn well against level 6 armor. It does, however, have an extra 15 recoil on top of an already high recoil weapon, so you might want to take that into account. There's actually only one other ammo, that's 12A, and that has a massive damage of 165, but no penetration at all, so that's the best choice if you like shooting people's legs. And some people do, a lot of people like shooting the legs. Next up, we've got .45 for the M1911A1 pistol, the world's most famous pistol. The best budget round here is FMJ from level 2 Peacekeeper. It'll penetrate level 2 armor comfortably, but hits a complete wall with level 3 and higher. The best ammo is the AP round from level 3 Peacekeeper. Now this will penetrate level 4 armor comfortably, but it does struggle with level 5 and 6. And it actually has an extra recoil of plus 20, which it is significant when you're trying to spam some headshots. Anyway, next up again, we've got 9x21 for the SR1MP, or the Shrimp, as I like to call it. Now this is another case where the best ammo is also cheap enough to run on a budget. Now, since there's only one weapon that uses this caliber, and it's a pistol, you might really struggle to find any 9x21 on the flea market, and there are no crafts available. So you're actually sort of locked behind trader levels, or stuck using a mediocre ammo. The best is SP13 from level 4 Prapor. It's the highest penetration round, it'll penetrate level 4 easily, level 5 fairly effectively, and can potentially get through level 6, but that's a struggle. Now, last and certainly least is 20 gauge shotgun ammunition for the TOS. I mean, just why? Just why would you ever? Okay, if you're intent on a serious challenge and you want to actually use a TOS, just use any of the buckshot ammos. 7.3mm has one more pellet than the other buckshots, so that's the best, I guess. If you prefer slug rounds, I mean, the 20 gauge slug rounds aren't anywhere near as good as the 12 gauge slug rounds. The only one worth using is the Star slug. That's the highest damage and can just about penetrate level 2 armor, so meh. Anyway, that's every caliber done. Hope you found this useful on some level. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my choices. Like this video if you liked it, like this video if you didn't like it, and I won't punch the mic. Oh shit. Mike's still in position. Let me do that again. Like this video if you liked it, like this video if you didn't like it, and subscribe if you want similar content. I also have a second YouTube channel for my Let's Plays, and I live stream pretty much daily, but only over on Twitch. There's links in the description for absolutely everything. Have yourself a fluffy day. Liquid Blitz, out.